Greetings! This short informative video is brought to you by me, Landry, as part of my environmental management course. The topic I'm going to speak to you about today is fracking. So what even is fracking? Well, Merriam-Webster's definition for fracking is as followed: the injection of fluid into shale beds at a high pressure in order to free up petroleum resources. In this video, I'm hopefully going to break this definition down into something a bit simpler for everyone to understand and explain some research findings on the topic. So the term fracking is short for hydraulic fracturing, which is a technique used to drill for oil. The fracking process involves a mixture of water, chemicals, and sand that is used with a high pressure to split up the shale rock bed beneath the ground. Once the rock is broken up, they are able to drill horizontally and collect the oil and gas. A variety of different chemicals can be used within the fracking mixture, and the exact chemicals are not known as they are typically kept a secret among oil companies. Typically, 5 to 10 different chemicals are added to the mixture. However, research has detected that volatile organic compounds such as benzene are found in the mixtures. These volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, are often linked with climate change. So now that we have a brief description of what fracking is, we will discuss some possible side effects that can come with fracking, and maybe next we should ask ourselves, should we be concerned? Some possible side effects of fracking could be split into two different categories: environmental and social effects. The environmental side effects are the ones that are more likely to cause long-term damage. These aspects of fracking are the effects that people tend to focus on and emphasize, as a growing amount of the population begin to worry more and more for the health and the future of our planet. Firstly, the fracking process uses a lot of land, around 5 acres of land, whereas other methods of oil and gas drilling typically only use around 3 acres of land. Regardless of the method, drilling takes a good amount of land, and it is obvious that fracking takes even more. The usage of land obviously means that there is less habitat for wildlife, less farmland for farmers, or less possible residential area. Fracking also uses chemicals in the water mixture that they used, and these chemicals can leach out and contaminate drinking water for humans and possibly affect animal life around the area. There is also potential with fracking for the release of gas such as methane into the atmosphere or water. Fracking, however, can also affect the social aspects of our environment, with new workers coming and going into cities and small towns, and for those in close proximity of drilling sites, the noise from the drilling process may become a bit of an issue. However, these problems are on a much smaller scale, and are only temporary, and they will typically go unnoticed. However, the possibility of drinking water contamination is a bigger threat. We will discuss this in a bit more detail. So as mentioned before, a big concern for many people is the methane contamination of their drinking water. Methane is produced during the fracking process and can often escape. This methane is able to contaminate water, which can lead to negative side effects. In extreme cases, the methane levels are so high that people are able to light their own tap water on fire by holding an open flame near the tap. Here I've provided a clip from YouTube showing a rather extreme case of methane contamination of water, which is due to fracking.
I can often hold a standard kitchen match to my water, and like I said, it is unpredictable, but the methane randomly travels with the water, and sometimes it will light quite spectacularly. Just like that.
Now, Chesapeake is going to say, well, there's natural occurring methane in the wells already. What do you have? What's your reply to a comment like that?
My reply is that their post-fracking test, their own, the methane tested 0.01 milligrams per liter, and since July of 2010, it has tested as high as 64 milligrams. So obviously something has changed.
And usually you can methane, they say as long as it aerates, it's safe to drink, and usually you can see a little bit of gas just aerating out of there. I don't know whether you can see it or not. Sometimes you have to hold it just right.
Yep.
As you can see in the video, the potential large leaks of methane from fracking could definitely be harmful to human life if methane becomes an issue in our wells. It may not happen with every drill site, but the threat is still there and continues to cause stress on civilians who must live with this issue. So now that we've seen some of the consequences of fracking, we may be asking ourselves, how large scale is this operation? While fracking takes place in many parts throughout the world, the US is a big contributor of fracking, as well as some parts of Canada. A few countries across Europe also partake in fracking, as well as a portion of South America, Australia, New Zealand, and some southern countries in Africa. This is somewhat crudely shown on this map, with arrows pointing to locations that are currently partaking in fracking. However, there are some countries and states that have decided to outright ban fracking, with the health of their water typically being a main concern. Some of these countries include Scotland, Wales, and Germany. There's also some states and counties in the US that have decided to ban fracking, some of which include Maryland, Monterey County in California, and New York State. So with fracking, there also comes the question of how much water is used. Earlier we discussed the land use that comes with fracking, so how does the water use measure up? Well, the amount of water used can vary per site, but a fracking site can use around 2 to 8 million gallons of water. This is equivalent to bringing in 400 to 600 tanker truckloads of water for a well on a drilling site. A site can also haul out around 200 to 300 truckloads of wastewater. It's no doubt that millions of gallons per drilling well is a lot. We should also keep in mind that some drilling sites consist of more than just one well. So far, we've focused a lot on the potential negative aspects to fracking. So are there any benefits to this method of drilling? With fracking comes an increase in gas and oil that is available on the market, as it allows for us to collect oil that was not always accessible. This in return helps lower the cost for consumers to purchase these fuels. Lower prices will surely satisfy many consumers. Fracking also allows for countries like the US to obtain their own fuels locally and cuts down on the need to obtain fossil fuels from foreign countries. Some people believe that this will help cut the tension between countries like the US and the countries that they collect their oil from. And with a local resource of fuel, this also allows for new employment options to become available to citizens and the opportunity to work closer to their homes and their families. So, a couple of things that I'd like for you to keep in mind is that the research in fracking is relatively new, and the long-term side effects have not really been able to be studied yet. I'd also like to say that I'm not trying to force an opinion on anyone who may be viewing this. Whether you support fracking or you're completely against it, that is entirely up to you. This video only covers a small portion of fracking and the pros and cons that may come along with it. I suggest that if you're interested in the topic, that you go ahead and do your own research. I hope that this basic overview of hydraulic fracturing, or fracking, was informative to some and not too boring. This here is just a reference slide with links to some of the information used in the video, as well as links to the pictures and the link to the original YouTube video. So that concludes my brief video on fracking. If you have any questions about the topics discussed, I will try my best to answer them, and thank you for watching.